Hey, y'all, welcome back to the What's Up with Yoga podcast. I'm your host, Kim Struglinski, the founder and owner of Heart of Wisdom Yoga in Nashville, Tennessee. We're switching things up a little bit. We switched what day, and by we, I mean me. I switched what day I'm going to release the podcast. I know I've taken a break a few times because I broke my foot, and then the holidays hit, and then we had a historic ice storm. So things have been crazy. I'm excited to get back into the podcast. This podcast is also shifting a little bit, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit about that. But before we get started, if you like this episode, share it with a friend. Please subscribe and rate and review on wherever you get your podcasts. So let's get into today's podcast. And it's a new year, it's a new podcast. I don't even remember if I put out an episode in January. I think I put one episode out. January has been crazy. It is now February. We just had quite a historic storm. I think I speak on behalf of all millennials when I say that I would really like to stop living through historic events. And I also don't think that's going to happen for us anytime soon. So now that we're back, I have had some time to think about like what's exciting to me about a podcast. And it's also interesting because I was just telling some friends this morning that I am now at the point in my 5-year journal when I'm like looking back at what I wrote last year, because last year was my first year writing in it. And I think the day that I'm recording this last year, I wrote, I would love to have a podcast. And here we are. So it's just really cool to see like how long I've thought about this. And now I'm just thinking, okay, I need to just do it. I'm also starting to realize what's more interesting to me about having a podcast. And you'll see the content of this podcast possibly change a little bit, more specifically to talk about the business ownership of owning a yoga studio, because I have a lot of experience. I laugh because like I sometimes don't think I know what I'm doing. And then I look back and realize I've owned this business for 6 years and I've been supervising people for 15 years. So like I have a lot of experience in a lot of things. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned a lot of things, and I would love to share that information with others. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to maybe wiggle around a little bit to discover what the podcast is going to be about. And if you're interested, great. If you're not interested, totally cool. And we'll figure it out together. So thanks for being along for the ride. Today's episode, I want to talk about how to apply for a yoga job because I'm in the midst of hiring and I've realized that I think because I used to work really closely with career services at a university and because I evaluated applications for a living when I worked at Vanderbilt and because I've hired and supervised, I have a lot of experience. And I think people, putting on my general hat here, I think people overthink their resume, the hiring and the application process. I used to do it. Don't get me wrong. Like I was there too. Here's the thing. When you're applying for any job, whether it's yoga or something else, your mission is to tell them why they should hire you. Your job is to express to them why you would be a great fit for that role. That's it. Keep it simple. Let's talk about how to do that. So I want to talk through a few things to keep in mind when you're applying for a yoga or a fitness job, because they're pretty simple. There's really only 3 things on my list here. So 3 tips that I have for applying to yoga or fitness jobs. Number 1, follow instructions. Number 2, with your resume, make it obvious when and where you trained and what teaching experience you have. And also if you have other related experience, make that obvious as well. Don't make me guess if you've done this before. And number 3, make it easy for people to understand why they should hire you. So we're going to talk through all of that and let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, most important is follow instructions. So I actually, when I put out my call to hiring for this most recent role, I had a form on our website that had the instructions, hey, apply through this form. This is the information we need. I specified exactly what information I needed from people. I even said on your resume, tell us when you did your training, any additional trainings you've done, and any teaching experience you had. I tried to make it as clear as possible. Also, because I want someone who can read instructions. I got emails from some people who said, hey, I saw your social media post about hiring. I would love to apply. And in my rubric that actually got dinged a point. There were a number of points that people could get, but if people emailed asking how to apply, it made it obvious to me that you did not read the social post or go to our website. It also was in an email that I sent out. It was very obvious to me that you didn't read our information. I did end up closing the application after about a week. One thing I could have done sooner was put in the original post when we were going to close the application. However, most job sites sort of have an indefinite end date. So don't expect that you're going to have forever to apply. So apply in a timely manner and follow the instructions. Do not DM the person on Instagram unless they told you. If they tell you to email them, email them. If they tell you to fill out a form, fill out a form. Do all of your communication through the prescribed methods, right? I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Communicate with people how they want you to communicate with them. If it's someone you know and have their phone number, don't just text them and say, hey, I want to apply for your role, because there's an official way that they want you to apply, right? Apply through the proper channel, whether that's sending an email, sending a cover letter, what have you. Include the information that they ask for, and know that if you've followed instructions, that is helpful. The reason I had that form, for example, was because it all filed into one specific place and everything was in one place. So if people applied outside of that form, it could go to any number of places and I didn't have any way of tracking it. And that's why I put that form together. Again, it was also part of my evaluation. I am looking for teachers who are detail oriented, who read instructions and follow instructions, who respect sort of processes and understand that like there's a method to everything. So this is a screener for me. This is a screener of, are you the type of person that follows through, follows instructions? And if you don't follow instructions on how to apply to a job, it's a sign to me that that could be an issue in the future. So that's number one, follow instructions, provide what's asked for. If they ask you, sometimes you'll get something where they ask you to provide a video of a teaching demo or provide your social media handle or whatever. Depending on what role you're applying for, follow the instructions. That's my first piece of advice. Know that, or maybe even imagine in your mind that there might be a rubric that they're looking for, right? So for me, I'm not going to tell you everything on it, but you can probably guess what is on it. So number one was, did they follow my instructions? Number two is, do they have a yoga teacher training credential? That's important to me that they have gone through teacher training. There's some other things about like what I was looking for and what sort of could get you points on my rubric. So know that if people are asking for you to provide specific information in a specific way, there's a reason for it. And this goes to my second point, which is for your resume. There's really 4 things that should be on your resume. Make sure that you include all of these things in addition to anything that a studio or a manager asks you to include, right? So number one is your contact information. Make sure it's obvious how people can get in touch with you. You get to decide what that is. Also, if all of your experience is in another state from where you're applying, make it clear whether you live in the state that you're applying in, because sometimes if I see an application where, the person even might put an out-of-state address on the application or on the resume, it makes me wonder, do they live here? Are they moving here? What's the situation? So make sure it's clear what your contact information is. Make it easy for me to get in touch with you. Make sure your email address is correct when you apply and on your resume. I also have people who have applied that I have emailed them communication about the hiring process, and I've gotten bounce backs of that email address is incorrect or your mailbox is full or what have you. Make it easy for me to contact you to tell you if I want to hire you or interview you, right? Like I can't do extra work to look you up if the email address you gave me is incorrect. That's, again, another red flag of if you can't even put down your correct information, that's not helpful in the hiring process. So on the resume, number one, make sure you've got your contact info on there. Number two, include the dates and sort of titles or a one sentence description of the training that you've done. Make it clear where you did your training, when you completed your training, and if you have additional training, make that really obvious too. Make it clear what your training is in as well. So if you did a 200-hour and then a 50-hour and a 20-hour, or if you've done a 200 and a 300, make it obvious what qualifications you have. List out everything that you have trained in. Even if you've done maybe like a 5-hour workshop that you took part in that gave you a little extra information, go for it. Include your qualifications as far as what teaching education you have. Also, if you have other related education, for example, if you have a college degree in exercise physiology, or if you've taken additional coursework, that could be helpful to include. It may not be interesting to the person that your resume is being reviewed by, but it doesn't hurt to include that kind of information there. So contact info, dates of training, make it obvious when you trained, because some people, I don't know if they trained last year, 10 years ago. That's a huge difference to me, especially if they haven't been teaching or have been teaching, which leads me to my third of my 4 pieces for the resume. Include your teaching experience with dates. Make it as obvious as possible when you started teaching. And this is to your advantage, right? So if you've been teaching for 3 years, but you don't put any information about when your teacher training finished and when you started teaching, I don't know how much you've been teaching. And so I'm not going to just assume that you have a bunch of experience or no experience, but it's a question mark in my mind, right? So make sure you tell me how much you've been teaching. And you don't have to get super exact here, right? Like I've taught generally around 2 classes a week for, 6 months, or I've taught anywhere from 1 to 5 classes a week, or this period of time I taught 10 classes a week, this period of time I taught 1 class a week, this period of time I had 1 class and 5 privates a week. Don't be afraid to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of approximately how much you've taught, which is just helpful for you to be tracking anyway. You don't have to say, I taught 49 classes at this studio in these 5 months. No, you don't have to go crazy with exact numbers, but give people a ballpark so that they have an understanding of what your background is and what your teaching experience is. Again, this often works in your advantage. So the more information you give me, the less I have to kind of guess in my head. And chances are you probably have more experience than you give yourself credit for. So make sure you go through and think, okay, how long have I been teaching? How many classes have I been doing a week? Make it as obvious as possible. Again, what experience you have that would make me want to hire you. And then last but not least, the 4th piece is include class types that you've taught. So include what training you've had and know your audience a little bit. So maybe look at their website and see what they offer. For example, if they don't offer hot power flow, like we don't offer hot power flow, it's totally fine if that's what your experience is. Like that's helpful for me to know and put it in my language, right? You might notice that we have a lot of vinyasa flow classes on our schedule. As you can imagine, it would make a lot of sense to translate your power flow, hot flow, whatever classes to a vinyasa flow place. This was not the case in our applications, but for example, if you're someone who's only ever taught Hot 26 classes or only ever taught aerial yoga, and that's all the experience you have, and you apply for a teaching position at a place that doesn't have those 2 class types, which we don't, if someone applied and only had experience in one of those class types, that wouldn't be helpful to me. I would need to know, like, have you learned how to teach a vinyasa class or a slow flow class, or have you translated to that to restorative? So make it obvious what class types you are able to teach. I will also add in, as a studio owner, it's really helpful to me when people have their favorite types of classes to teach, but have a broad range of background. If you're willing to sub classes, that is super helpful. So if you have a broad range of background of other types of classes that you'd be able to sub, that's huge. Last but not least, related to that is if you have sort of specific class types that you've taught in the past or that you've developed. I've had teachers come in and teach sort of their own signature class type. That's totally cool. But make sure you communicate about that and sort of where it could fall into a studio's class setting. So for example, with the roll and release classes that we offer and the roll and restore classes that we offer. I have offered that elsewhere because I have specific training in myofascial release using massage balls, and I've incorporated that into other classes. So if I were applying to a studio and I knew that that was something their clients might be interested in, I could say, hey, I have this background. This is something I could work into my classes. We could even offer it as a class or a workshop in the future. So don't be afraid to think about how could you bring something unique to that studio as well. So on your resume, let's recap. What do we want to see? Dates of any trainings you've done, and that includes all the trainings. Teaching experience, including dates. What types of classes you can teach, being mindful of what they're looking for. And how do I get in touch with you? How do I contact you? Those are the most important pieces. Okay, so our third piece, and this is a big picture, kind of brings all of this together, is make it as easy as possible for people to understand why they should hire you. Why would you be a good fit for the team? And I asked this question when I did Zoom interviews. So I also do my hiring process a little differently because I do some Zoom interviews too. I asked this question of why are you specifically interested in teaching here? And even if they don't ask that question on the application or on their website specifically, or if they don't ask for a cover letter, you can still tailor your resume and your application process to include why they should hire you. For example, if you are very available to help out with classes at the times that they're looking for, make that clear. If you have experience in a number of different styles of yoga that they offer, make that abundantly obvious. Gosh, there's so many different ways to do this, but essentially make it obvious and make it easy for people to understand why they should hire you. This goes back to the following the instructions, right? Like if you are going to be stepping into a team of people, we need to hire people who are team players and who can support the existing schedule. And if you apply, which I've had people do this in the past, not in the most recent round, but I've had people apply and say, I can teach this one class time each week and no other class times. Understand that that may not be as helpful to the people that you're applying to if they're looking for people that can step in and pick up other classes. Now, some studios might be looking for like one person to hold down one class time, and that's totally fine. But be mindful that you are joining as part of a team, not as you doing your own thing within the confines of that business. Being mindful that this is a bigger picture business that has a lot of wheels turning is helpful. And that's where you need to make it as easy as possible for people to understand why they should hire you. This also includes things like being mindful of, again, back to what I said, following instructions, making sure your contact information is correct, making sure things are spelled correctly, making sure that if you have to address an email to someone or if they ask for a cover letter or a little written answer to something, making sure that you answer the question that they've asked and make it about them too. So this used to happen when I was in college admissions, but I always kind of laughed when I got emails or letters or what have you that were, dear admissions officer at other university that was not the one I worked at. Okay, that raises a red flag in my mind. So, if you're writing a blanket email to a bunch of studios, for example, inquiring about hiring, and one of them is my studio that's unheated, and then four of them are other heated studios in Nashville, don't just send a blanket email to all of us and say, I love teaching hot yoga, because I'm gonna dismiss that because we don't offer hot yoga. I don't even know if you're interested in teaching not hot yoga. Make it as clear as possible why someone would want to hire you. This idea of making it easy for people to understand why they should hire you also includes understanding the studio a little bit. So, for example, we are a studio at Heart of Wisdom where we are very trauma informed, and we make that pretty clear through our class descriptions, through the way our teachers teach, through our social media. We try to communicate that so that people understand that. And I have also had people cold email me and pitch like, hey, do you want to have trauma informed yoga at your studio? That's a sign to me that that person doesn't actually know what we're doing and hasn't looked at our social media, read our class descriptions, hasn't taken a class with us, because It's not something that we require our teachers to be trained in, but we do offer quite a bit of continuing education when it comes to trauma-informed teaching. And I'm clear with teachers that one of the expectations I have is that we give students agency to move in their bodies the way that works for them. So we are a very trauma-informed studio from the get-go. If you reach out to me and say, do you want to bring trauma-informed yoga to your studio? I know that you don't know what we're doing. It would be really different if you truly didn't know and owned it and said, hey, I have just done this training in trauma informed yoga. I would love to learn more about, do you offer trauma informed yoga? If you came to me with a question about it, that's a whole different conversation that I really appreciate. And I'm happy to have that conversation. It's just a little more off putting when people come to us and say, hey, I want to bring this thing to your studio, and it's something we're already doing, or something that is 100% in opposition to what we do. So again, people saying like, I love hot yoga. Can I teach hot yoga at your studio? We are a not hot studio. Unfortunately, the answer is no. I would love to connect you with some of my friends who own hot yoga studios, but no, we're not going to turn up the heat for you because that's just not what we do. And that's okay. And it's no shade to you. It's nothing personal. It's just not going to happen. Um, so those are the big three things about how to apply for yoga jobs. If you're someone who's looking for I say a real job, but like if you're in a career hunt, my friend Tiffany Tate is at Career Maven Consulting on Instagram. She's a great follow just in general. So huge fan of her. If you need job hunting resources, 1,000% recommend her. So how to apply for jobs. Make it easy for people to understand why they should hire you. This goes with one of sort of the underlying principles in business, in my opinion, is make it as easy as possible for people to pay you. Use that same mindset when it comes to people hiring you. Make it as easy as possible for people to want to hire you. Make it as easy as possible for them to bring you onto their team because they know without a shadow of a doubt that you have the experience that they need. Let's talk about what next steps might happen when it comes to a yoga job. There might be an interview, whether it's Zoom or in person. Most of the time, there's definitely a teaching demo. It could be a 20-minute class. It could be a 10-minute class. It might be any number of things. I have seen it and experienced it where it was sort of a group demo setting where you and everyone, or I should say in this case, me and everyone else who applied, we all were in a group and sort of popcorn taught. We each got 10 minutes and we all taught each other. I've had to go in and do an audition privately and bring my own students. I have also had to go in and teach just me and the owner or whoever was hiring me. You name it, I have probably done it. I've had to record a video of myself teaching a specific section of class and send that in. There's all kinds of ways that you might be asked to do things. So just know that that could be part of the next step. And last but not least, most likely you're going to need liability insurance. So make sure that you as a teacher have liability insurance in addition to what the studio has. Most studio policies require that their teachers also have liability insurance. So just know that that's something as well. I also just want to mention a couple things that I generally don't sort of care about. Um, I don't care if you have a website. I don't care if you use social media for yoga or not. Those pieces are not important to me. And I've heard about studios not hiring people because they don't have enough followers. And that's just simply not a thing to me. What matters to me is, are you a kind and respectful person? Can you follow instructions? Are you a team player? Are you interested in learning yoga? Like, are you someone who wants to continue learning? I can help lots of people be better teachers. Like if you have the spirit of it and want to teach, I don't say this in sort of a braggy way, but I have tools that I can share with you to help you teach better, more effectively, safer, all that kind of thing. I can't teach you to be a good person. I can't teach you to um, respond to emails in a timely manner or follow instructions. Like you're a fully formed adult. I'm looking at you as that. And so I can't teach you to be sort of a more responsible person. I can tell you what my standards are and see if you meet them, see if you follow the guidelines that I set. But I can help you be a stronger teacher if that's something you're interested in. And I can give you resources for like, where can you go to learn more about things? Essentially, I hire for some of the things that I think are unteachable. So I'm looking for people, again, who are respectful, who are kind, who want to learn. And that's all important stuff that I can't teach. I can teach you some skills for being a little bit more trauma-informed teacher, for example. I can teach you more about anatomy. I can give you resources for where to go to learn more things. I can teach you about hospitality. So one thing that is important to me as a yoga studio owner is that we are in the hospitality business, and it's about making people feel welcome. And I can teach you how to do that. This doesn't mean you have to be like the most extroverted person. This means that I will train you to look people in the eye if you're able, to welcome them by name, make sure you're pronouncing their name right, make sure you're looking around the room as you teach. Like, there are things that I can teach you that are specific skills that will set you up for success in future yoga roles and other roles. Again, I can't teach you again to like be a good person and care about people. So that's what I hire for. So that's all I got. I really like talking about this kind of thing, and I'm excited to talk about it a little bit more. It also makes me nervous to talk about this, out in the world, because who knows what feedback I'll get from it, and I'm excited to see. I hope this is helpful, and also know that this is my take, Kim, Heart of Wisdom. Like, this is my take. This is not every studio's take. So there might be other studios that see this completely differently, that completely disagree with me. And you know what? That's correct for them. Like, if it's working for them, great. This is just a glimpse inside my mind as a studio owner, and I hope that it's helpful. If you have questions, if you have feedback, if you have observations, let me know. Would love to hear them. I'm on Instagram at Kim Struglinski. The studio is on Instagram at Heart of Wisdom Yoga. You can also check out the website for the podcast, howyoga.co/podcast, and request topics for the future. That's all I got. I'll see you again next week.